Hi, today we're going to tie a grasshopper fly pattern, and we're going to use some laser cut craft foam. We've got two pieces we're going to be using for a body. We will have two pieces that we're using for legs and a small piece that we're going to put on the top. This is going to go on a size 8 nymph hook. This one has a downturned eye. We're also going to use a small piece of deer fur for the wing material and a couple of small little rubber legs for the front legs. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is place our body up against the hook to measure it for size. We want the front of this to be right up behind the eye of the hook. We're going to come back here with our thumbnail, make a little mark with that so we can tell how far back the hook bend is. Next thing we're going to do is put a little bit of super glue on there. So I'm just going to take and lightly paint just a little bit. I don't want too much on there. And then we're going to take the other side of our body, match it up, make sure the front is lined up and the tail and everything is nice and lined up. We're just going to pinch it together and let it sit. Don't want to get glue on your fingers, so take just a couple of seconds for that to set in. And next we're going to be using a brown thread here, but any color you want is fine. And I'm going to take and wrap thread here, and I'm going to be going backwards here, and you'll see why in a little bit. So I'm going to do 5 or 6 wraps there, and then cut tag end. And now I'm going to flip this upside down. I'm going to cross over a little bit, and I'm just going to come forward to make another segment. And you can do as many segments here as you want. And I'm not compressing the foam too much. I'm just doing this for looks and to make sure that the glue doesn't come undone. And we can peel this apart, see how far up we need to go. Probably good. So the next thing we're going to do is split this in half, peel the closer side away, set the foam on there, and we're going to put a little more super glue here. I'm using one with a brush, but if you have squeeze bottle type, that's fine. So we're going to set that there, pinch your sides together, and give it a few seconds to set up. And you'll notice we still have a very good eye coverage, so we've got the eye exposed. Now we're going to take our thread underneath the body, and we're at about the bend of the hook. We're just going to do, I did 3 or 4 wraps there. Next thing we're going to do is put our legs on, and we want to size them up so they don't come too far back, and we cut these legs with a long enough gap here to be used for different sized flies. And so I'm simply going to adjust the same spot I tied right at the back of the hook. I'm going to do 2 light wraps to hold it in place. And then I'll set the other side on. Can adjust them here to make sure they're about equal. And again, we're going to do a couple of more wraps. And as you pull tight on them, not too tight though, they will splay out to the sides. So the next thing we're going to do is trim this orange. We don't need it sticking all the way out. Okay. So next we want to advance our thread forward. So on the underside we're going to come up to where this little groove is here in the foam. I'm going to do 4 or 5 wraps there. And this is where we're going to tie in a small piece or patch of deer hair. We don't need to use a lot. So we'll cut the deer hair out, pull out any fluff. Make sure our butt ends are even. I'm going to lay this right on top with the butt ends being about at the head, a little behind. And I'm going to do about 5 more wraps. So when we have that done, it sticks way up in the air like that. The next thing we're going to do is take a small piece of rubber leg. In this case it's about 3 inches. I'm going to fold it in half and cut it into 2 pieces. I'm going to take one side on the closest side, about the middle, and I'm just going to do 2 wraps to hold it in place. Go to the other side, same thing, about in the middle, a couple light wraps to hold it in place. The next thing, we're going to take our kind of squarish piece of foam, and you'll notice it's got one flat side and one pointed side. We're going to set the pointed side to the back. And center it on there, and we'll do 3 or 4 more wraps. Pull up your wing material so the wings stick up a little bit, and now we're just going to do some simple knots here, making sure not to get our legs tied up in there. If you are proficient with a whip finisher, you could certainly whip finish this. And next we're going to use a little bit of our trusty old Sally Hansen's. Put a little amount of bodkin, just touch it on the threads. I'm going to get good coverage on the threads. Get some on the bottom here too. The nice thing about the rubber legs, if you want to adjust them, you can do that. So, and there you have it. Pretty easy to tie foam fly with some pretty detailed body parts to them, with the wings, nice little legs. So hopefully that'll work for you. Thanks.